Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining today's webinar on the Assemble and iSqFt integration that's driving 3D bid management. During this presentation, all lines will remain muted to preserve the quality of the recording, and if you have any questions, please enter them into the questions panel on the right side of your screen, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. Anything we can't get to during the webinar, we will ask towards the end at the Q&A session. Now let's get things started. It's my pleasure to introduce you to today's speaker, Tim Kelly, our product manager here at Assemble. Go ahead, Tim.
Thanks, Amanda. And just real quickly, I'll introduce myself and let Tom do the same. But I'm the product manager at Assemble, and I actually come from the construction industry. I've spent most of my career working with a general contractor, and a lot of the time was in pre-construction, and so I've done a fair share of managing bid day or working on bid packages during bid day and dealing with subcontractors and making sure that things are per plans and specs, as they say, and did a lot within my organization to join bidding and estimating in the model with our actual guys that are very experienced in the traditional process of estimating. So that said, I'm excited to be talking with Tom today and the iSqFt team. Tom?
Thanks, Tim. I'm Tom Schweitzer. I'm the product manager at iSqFt, and for my career here at iSqFt, I've worked with our general contractors, customers, and prospects alike to help build out some tools, primarily in pre-construction, but also in our pre-qualification and risk mitigation. So lately, I've been working on the partnerships, some API development, and partnerships like this one here with Assemble, which we'll be talking about. It's pretty exciting.
All right, so before we do get started, I'm going to quickly go through our agenda. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Assemble, we'll do a brief introduction. And those that aren't familiar with iSqFt, we'll do an introduction to that as well. And then we want to dig into a few points on why BIM data is important and what it's doing for our industry as a whole. Then we'll briefly talk about the integration and then the benefits for both the general contractor and subcontractor. And then we'll actually get into a demo of the workflow and how our two companies are working together and what that means. So to go ahead and jump in, let me back up there. Assemble, if you aren't familiar, is a web-based platform with the goal of access to model data for construction teams. So whether that's in pre-construction or in the field in construction, what we want is for when you publish your models to Assemble, we make it really easy to share across the team. It's a simple login to a browser. There's no need to download software, download big files. It's simply log in and gain access to that set of models that's been published. So whether you're managing data sets and looking at general quality control, or getting summarized quantities, or attempting to edit or add properties to your model, or reviewing changes between iterations of models, or publishing information out to Excel for downstream use with other systems and facilities management. We try and make all of that really easy and quick to do for your team. So all of that said, as a young company, we've gained a lot of traction across the industry, including about 40% of the top 50 E&R contractors. And we're excited that we're growing, and we're excited to have an opportunity like we have with our partnership with iSqFt. So that said, I'll let Tom introduce iSqFt.
Thanks, Tim. For those not familiar with iSqFt, iSqFt for general contractors is a web-based platform with solutions focused on bid management, vendor and director management, and pre-qualification tools. All of that is geared towards helping the GCs be more effective when trying to control risk and managing their projects during pre-construction. In addition to those great tools for GCs to improve their daily workflows, iSqFt's home to the largest network of active construction professionals ever in one system. It's a place where owners, architects, manufacturers, suppliers, and subcontractors can all connect, share project information from early design all the way through post-bid. Also, more general contractors use iSqFt for those bid management pre-qualification tools than any of our competitors.
That's awesome. just real briefly, I want to talk about a few challenges that we've seen. And that what I've noticed in my career is that more and more often now you need BIM tools and a BIM team to be competitive. Owners are certainly expecting new workflows and things to happen faster and more insight into your process or the data available. And with competition adopting BIM technologies, they're able to produce estimates faster or generally coordinate faster, those sort of things. And so those that aren't adopting BIM technologies are quickly either figuring out that they need to or they're being left behind. Another challenge that I've seen is that there's a lack of BIM training and those that are experts in and the tools that are available. It's still fairly new, and being that it's new, there's a very small pool of staff that has experience. And so that said, in us at Assemble, what we want to do is make it really easy for your organization to leverage a smaller size BIM team or the staff that's available and spread that knowledge across the team and actually keep it simple, keep it easy. And so with that said, we're really trying to keep the ease of access or the cost of entry, let's say, as low as possible.
Tim, as you were saying, BIM is definitely something to make a GC more competitive. But even before BIM was around, a huge challenge with the GCs had and still have is effectively communicating that scope to everyone involved in the project. Even more so with architects these days, always trying to push the boundaries in design and constructability, where 2D plans just don't represent everything in the project or done in a way that is not clearly discernible by the subcontractors. Which brings us to the solution, which is that integration between Assemble and iSqFt. This is something that's going to leverage that ease of use and access to BIM of the Assemble platform without expensive or complicated software, integrated directly with the iSqFt bid solicitation and document distribution tools. Everything is web-based, and since the model views are shared through iSqFt now, that same login used by the subcontractors to access the traditional information, those 2D drawings and specifications, will now also grant them access to the model views that the GC chooses to share with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say from my experience too, when you provide subcontractors more than one site to log in, I've fielded my share of calls of dealing with documents on one site and models on another, that sort of thing. Anytime we're trying to share multiple things and it requires different logins, there's always confusion, and so keeping it all consolidated from that same portal that they're familiar with is huge. So that said, from the subcontractor point of view, what you're able to do is more earlier on in the process, share information with the subs and build a relationship with those guys by communicating scope clearly with 3D visualizations, or actually provide them with quantities that they can use to quickly update their proposal and their pricing real time. So I know for those of you that have worked in negotiated work where you bring your subcontractors on early and you have several iterations of pricing, I think this is huge to get this information out in front of the subcontractors and allow them to look at the updates of the quantities and to look at the updated documents alongside that and actually digest all of that in a quick fashion, because ultimately we all know that things have to happen very quickly in our industry or you're not competitive. So that said, back to the same point on keeping everything in that one platform, they're able to view read-only copies of the model view, again, with or without those quantities, alongside their plans and specifications and any other documents you want to provide. And so you know that they're not editing, or one sub is not editing that data and another sub is consuming that, so it really keeps it streamlined in that process.
Good controls all for the general contractor, that
Absolutely.
being said. On the flip side, for the subcontractors, really the benefits are, that sub can access that 3D view easily within a familiar web-based tool of iSqFt. By looking at that 3D rendering, the sub can explore and evaluate that risk With the solution, the sub can understand complexity or phasing that is often difficult using 3D alone. And the solution is browser-based, so without any installed plugins, there's no need for that expensive software training. It's simply log in, get in, see the information, be able to assess that, what you need, and get out. Recently, GE Johnson, one of our joint customers, their Houston office put a couple of projects through this integration, and we were able to chat with those subcontractors about their experience. Every one of them was very excited about having this level of detail that they have previously only very limitedly had access to. In fact, one subcontractor, I think it was a glazing contractor, if I remember correctly, confessed that this was their very first experience with a model. It was very useful. They're very excited to see it on more and more jobs in the future. So it's really awesome to hear everybody getting around this integration, seeing how it's beneficial to them and making their jobs more efficient, more effective, quickly be able to see where there's problems, challenges that they need to look at, and just better understand everything involved in the project. So to summarize.
Yeah, real quick before we jump to the next slide, another quick point is that as we're in a market that's heating up or a hot market, all of those out there that are general contractors know that one of the most important things in bidding a job is getting participation. And working with those subcontractors to get them involved early and understand what the scope of work is huge. So rather than requiring a subcontractor to download a full set of plans and specs and spend time digging through them to understand, if this project is the right fit for them, it's very valuable to get just the general view of the project and the scope of work right in front of them so they can quickly digest it and say, you know what, this project fits us well. We're going to spend time on it instead of, at projects B, C, and D.
Great point, Sim. And just to kind of summarize, this solution, enables that improved communication of scope and phasing. It allows your subcontractors to better grasp all those complexities of the project. Like you said, Tim, be able to kind of see, is this project even, am I capable of doing it? Is it worth my time, etc. It's then easy for the subs, when you send an invite, that they'll have the models presented to them in that familiar format right next to the drawings and specs that they need to work on their takeoff and their estimate, which ultimately translates into that improved estimates come bid day, making you, that GC, more competitive in the marketplace.
Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and jump into a demo, Tom?
That sounds great.
Good?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me quickly switch over. So when you first log into Assemble, you have a list of all the projects that you, as a user, have access to. And so I'm going to jump into this project. And within this project, we have multiple models. So we have an architectural, mechanical, or MEP, site, and structure. And then within those, we have multiple iterations. So we do version control within each model. So I'm going to go into the current version of the structure model, and I'm going to build out a view. And what I'm doing is, within this view, I'm going to limit what I want to share over to iSqFt and to my bidders within this particular view. So I'm looking at just a structural model right now for this project. And ideally, I think I'm going to use a sample of isolating the steel and the concrete for my structural bidders, for the superstructure or substructure, those guys that are looking at there. So what I want to do first off is I don't need these roofs in here, so I'm going to go ahead and isolate or get rid of the roof. I'm going to hide those and get down to my structure. And so I've already very quickly grabbed the steel and the concrete and created two different bid packages. And so I'm going to regroup my information by bid package. And so now I can see I have concrete here, and I have 320 tons within the foundations and the slab. And then I have 95 tons of structural steel. And then I have some items here that are not assigned, and it looks like, what I need to do is move this. I must have missed that earlier, so I can change the quantity here really quickly to concrete bid package. And looks like these things can actually be ignored, so I'm going to go ahead and filter those out as well. And now I've got a nice view of my structural steel and concrete. So this is what I want to go ahead and save and share out. So I'm going to save this view as structure. And I'm going to go ahead and hit share here. Share it outside of a symbol. And for this, let's say I've been working with this subcontractor, the set of subcontractors, and I want them to actually see the quantities as a back check or help them actually get to that summary quantity and use it as a reference. So I'm going to share view or add inventory. And now we're going to move over to iSqFt and add that into my bid packages. So I jump over to iSqFt here. Tom?
So from here, those of you that aren't familiar with iSqFt, we'll bypass kind of the login, but here's a list of projects similar to what Tim was showing in the assemble side. We're going to go into our Southern Connecticut State University. That's the shell that we're using for the demo today. Basic project information up under the Documents tab is where we'll go add our model. I think we shared some models in this project previously, but if we go into that model view, you'll see there's a couple that were previously loaded, which are fine. We'll leave them alone. If we right-click on there, we'll go in and add a model view. Now, if Tim hadn't been logged in, it would have prompted him for his credentials there. So you get to see which projects in Assemble that you've got models shared views on. So he's going to go into that project that he just created the view for us, and he's going to pick that structure that he just created for us and add that. Once it refreshes here, we'll now see that new model shared in there. We see that it's the viewer and the inventory. Tim just added it here today. If we click on that permissions, this gives us a little more granularity as a GC on the iSqFt side. So good example, maybe I only want to share those quantities with a subset of the subs that I'm inviting to project. So there's the flexibility to be able to restrict this only to those structural steel subcontractors, whereas by default it'll be viewable by everybody within the project. So you can cancel out of this here, Tim. And then let's go take a look at how it looks in iSqFt. So he's just going to click on it. It'll launch into the iSqFt viewer, which is already where all the drawings and specifications are loaded out. We've got the new model view section. So you can quickly go in, just like Tim was doing within Assemble. You can highlight things, click on things. It'll since we're seeing the inventory here, we'll see that information being highlighted at the top. The cool thing here, since this is in that viewer, now we can have multiple things open at the same time. It's all browser-based. There's no software that needs to be running. So here, Tim's got the walls open into a drawing. Probably just anything, Tim. I think they're actually from a different project. But we can highlight and have those drawings open and a separate tab, a separate monitor even, as a subcontractor, even a GC is going and doing their estimate. They can bring things up, put them side by side, monitor to monitor, projector to projector. I've even seen some GCs that are doing some war rooms with architects trying to figure out where they can cut the budget or whatnot, and be able to quickly go through things here on one screen and the other, go between the models and Assemble, make some adjustments, share that information back out, and it's immediately available with those subcontractors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that for our contractors that are looking to build relationships with subcontractors and do this type of stuff up front, I've seen several of our customers that have started working with lunch and learns. They'll get them into this platform, show them how that communication is working, show them how they're going to be presenting information to them and how they would be updating it through the course of a bid, and then those subcontractors then go back and are able to leverage this information very quickly.
Very cool, Tim.
So with all of that said, I think that really wraps up the demonstration. Tom, did you have anything else to add?
I really think it speaks for itself. There's a lot of cool things that a general contractor is now empowered to do with this, being able to arm the subcontractors with more information, ultimately it lends itself to better quality estimates on bid days, so you can be more competitive in the marketplace.
So that said, can we go ahead and jump over to some questions?
Yep, you got it. And just a reminder to everyone on the webinar right now, please enter your questions into the questions chat box on the right side of your panel, and we'll get to them this session. Our first question, probably the most popular question right now in chat, do I have to subscribe to both products?
Currently, how everything is structured is, yes, you'll have a subscription to the iSqFt platform, you'll have a subscription to the Assemble platform, and then there will be an integration component of that subscription as well.
Great, thanks, Tom. Our next question, are model views static snapshots? Are they typically created by the design team or the general contractor?
I'll get that one. So the model views are dynamic, and that let me answer it this way. The typical model that we see come into the system is from the design team, and then it's verified or checked across the quantities for quality and make sure that everything's comprehensive, and then augmented if needed by the contractor. And then as the general contractor, you have the ability to isolate the components you want to share. So if you're working with just a superstructure, you can get rid of all the other things that you don't want to see or you don't want to share. And so you as the general contractor have the ability to set up that view. Then as you move forward and publish new iterations of a model, so let's say we have a change occur and we get a new version of a model. And I publish over the top of this model and bring in that new version so things have changed. These views are updated to that most current version if you actually publish in a new data set. So this structure model, let's say we're bringing in the let's say it's a addenda into the project, and I've set up the new documents on iSqFt, then I published the new model into Assemble. I don't need to go and reconnect that information back to iSqFt. It's automatically updated.
Great, thank you, Tim. Our next question is, what is the format of the data quantities exported? Can this be used by third-party subcontractor estimating programs?
Yeah, so I'll answer that as well. Within Assemble directly, we actually have the ability to take these quantities, however you filter them, name them, group them, that sort of thing, directly out to Excel, and then can take them elsewhere from there. Today we've limited that capability just based on some feedback we've gotten from many contractors that we want to keep that limited for now. And so the output of data from iSqFt is that it's read-only, it's within iSqFt. But if you have interest in taking that elsewhere, please do let us know, and we can work with you guys.
Thank you, Tim.
Let me add something to that, because I was going to say, you know, in light of that restriction kind of in how the integration works with iSqFt, if you choose to export it and attach it to the project or share it through iSqFt, that's always an option as kind of an exception versus the rule.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that data format within Excel is structured in a way that fits however you've grouped that information, so I can roll this back up and get those summary quantities, or I can drill all the way down to the individual instances within that data table.
All right, thanks. Our next question, does your Assemble model provide the square footage of contact area for the grade beams you were demoing?
I believe you can get that quantity. I'd have to look directly. It depends on the model and what properties are available in the model. We currently don't do a full-blown takeoff of all the different geometry in all the different ways. But if it's modeled in a way that allows you to get the square foot surface area of 2 sides or 4 sides, that sort of thing, yes.
Great, thank you. Next question. Do the subs need to have Assemble loaded on their computer to view and work in the model?
No, so Assemble is a web browser, and so I'm using Google Chrome in this demonstration, and if I log out, I'm going to sign out here, I simply come to whatever my site name is. So my site name that I use for demos is just timkelly.tryassemble.com, and it brings me to my login, and so I simply log in and I have access to that data. So there's no downloads required other than when you're publishing. There is a plugin to Revit AutoCAD, so you would need to download those if you're the one doing the publishing, you need to download that plugin, but it's a small file and then you quick install, but then once you do, you have the ability to go from there and jump into your project files.
And that applies to subs and GCs. It's all browser-based, so there's nothing to install or run. You obviously put a shortcut on your desktop if it's something that you get into and want to refer to frequently, but nothing to install, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even both Assemble and iSqFt, if you're invited to the project, you get an email with the link directly to that site, so it's a pretty quick access. If you're a subcontractor and you don't need to try and figure out what that link is, it takes you right there.
Yep. So many subs work out of their emails these days, which is awesome because they used to work out of their fax machines.
Some still do. That's right.
That's fair. Yep.
All right, next one up. Can you turn off automatic update of previous views so you can still see the old view?
I'm not positive I understand that question clearly, but I will say you can go to the previous version. So if I jump back into Assemble here, I apologize, I went ahead and closed that site. I'm going to go into this project. Yeah, so I've got two versions of this architectural model here. And so if I go into one of these views, I'm just going to look at the casework, for example. I'm in version 2 here. And I can actually switch back to a previous version, so I can then look at version 1. Additionally, when you have multiple versions, and this is strictly speaking in Assemble right now, we actually have the ability to do version variance, and so if you want to look at 2 iterations of a model and see what things changed, I'm going to go ahead and unhide the entire architectural model and hit show changes, and we can actually see all the things that have changed across those versions. And I have things that were added, removed, the type changed, the quantity changed, or the type and quantity changed. And so you get a variance report there. And strictly today, that's within Assemble and not available currently within iSqFt, but certainly let us know if you're interested in seeing that as a feature within the iSqFt platform.
All right. Another question we have, are my Assemble saved views private?
No, they're shared across your entire team. So when you create a view within Assemble, that view is accessible to any of the team members of the project. So if I create a view and Amanda's within that project, she can see them. But as Tom mentioned, for our integration with iSqFt, if you want to isolate them to particular trades, you have the ability to manage and control permissions by the bid package. Tom, do you want to add any information to that?
No, I think you're hitting exactly on what he's looking for there. I mean, you have the ability to make it a default view shareable across whoever you're inviting to, but you can also select specific teams or specific views that you want to share with only a subset of the people that you're sharing the project with on iSqFt. You would do that through this little dialog that Tim has open on the screen right now. So it's a little more setup, but very, very manageable. So if you have 2 or 3 models that you might want to share only with your maybe your MEPs or some of your design build folks, where you want to have more quantities involved, shared within those, you go up and set up a package on iSqFt that's where you would share the model to through this dialog, and then anybody that you add to those bid packages in iSqFt would have access to those. You want to share it with anybody else? That's cool. You have a separate bid package, which is all of your general trades and other subs that are looking at the 2D information, but not necessarily the models that you're sharing with those select trades.
All right, and just to clarify, we did have a question come in, I think a little unfamiliar with the Assemble part of it. How are the quantities within the tables derived?
Yeah, so we're pulling directly from the properties that come out of the design platform. So this is a set of Revit files. And if I go into the structural model here, and I'll use just a quick example, if I select one of these components, this is a wide flange, a 250 by, and this is metric, I apologize, but 250 by 67. If I look at these properties here, I have available all the things that are instance properties from Revit and type properties. If I look at this, I have the square foot, which a beam doesn't necessarily have a square foot. So we have the length, the volume, and then we also actually calculate the tonnage by weight by length or weight by volume. And so if you have any of those within a structural component, you have several different things that would be calculated depending on the member type. And so we can grab tonnage on either way. But if you can see, I have a kind of a primary takeoff quantity. That's this summary right here. And I can actually change or select which one I want to use. So if I have, let's look at slabs, for instance. I'm going to discard the changes here, and I've selected slabs. If I want to look at the area, I can get it there, or I can change this to volume if I wanted it that. And then let's say plug in the unit cost and derive a total cost, or I can plug in a total cost and get the unit cost. And so I can actually add that information directly based on this takeoff quantity.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Our next question, can you share a view that includes several models beyond just one architectural model?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can go ahead and turn on, and this is one of those for maybe we want to just generally, let me discard the changes here. Since I'm already in this project, I'm going to go ahead and use this as a view. I can turn on all the models, the entire project. So I'm going to unhide everything. And I have 3 models in here, but I could have 3 or 5 or 20. And so now I see everything. And if I wanted to share out just my viewer of everything, so all of my trades get that comprehensive view, I'm going to save this as all models. Let's just say whole project. Right. So I'm going to share this out and just show the viewer and save that. Just go ahead and don't show this again. And then within iSqFt, I'll go ahead and use this project. I know it's a different one, but I'm going to go ahead and add a new view. And since I'm logged in as Tom, I'm just going to log in as Tim. And I apologize, I have access to several sites here, so you're going to see me selecting which site I want to gain access to. Oh, you know what? Let me switch back over to Tom. That's my fault. All right, so that was in this project here. So now you should see all models, whole project, and it actually shows under the fact that I have multiple models showing here. So I add that in, and I can actually see now the viewer of, it's going to load each model here. Let's take just a second. And now I have all of the models here, and if you're not familiar with the symbol, you can walk with both the mouse and move around, or the keyboard. And so I can kind of get in here into the building and look around, look at things. If I select them or hover over, I can get a little more information on that. So I can kind of navigate. I think let's go hallway in a room. So I can move around within my project and see all of my models here.
Great, it is really cool. A related question, does this cost anything for the subs? And is there training for the subs? Do they have to be trained in order to use this?
Yeah, all the subs coming into iSqFt are free access. So anybody that you invite, whether they're somebody in your private directory or somebody you find through the network, they have free access to the projects that you post on iSqFt. In addition to, if any of the subs have challenges, they don't need to call you. We have a whole team here that is dedicated to supporting them and helping them with any training challenges they might have with their experience on iSqFt.
I'll add to just, I mean, it's very straightforward to navigate around in the model. I know it's I've seen it's easy for even, I worked with someone who was 74 years old that, a superintendent on a project that got in pretty quickly, and after just a few minutes of showing him how to move around, he was able to navigate. But we do have within the viewer here what those controls are and some shortcut keys. So very quick explanation of how you can navigate around.
Are quantities shown in the shared saved views?
If you include the inventory when sharing out a view, let me get back into the view, or I'll just save this. Go into a view here. If you share that out as a viewer only, you don't get those summary quantities or that inventory. So if you want to share it out, you show the viewer and inventory. If you don't want to show the quantities, just show the viewer.
Sounds good. Thank you. Do I need to provide the models to all of my subs?
No, if you want to limit it to those that you are, you're, let's say, working more hand in hand with, that you want to provide this information, as we showed before, you can either give it to all the trades or specific ones or specific vendors in particular if you want to. And Tom, sorry, I jumped in and answered there, but you can add color to that if you want.
You totally nailed it, Tim. It's pretty straightforward. You know, you can separate it out so, you know, one package of subs that you're inviting would have access to those models, while the other package, wouldn't be any the wiser if you shared the model with just that other package. So GCs totally need that flexibility sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I know we are running out of time here, but I'll try for one more question, and then we can kind of wrap things up. Next question. We have been using iSqFt for a while now, but just started using Assemble. Are they currently integrated, or do we have to do something? I think we could definitely help get you started. And again, Tim, if you just want to reiterate how little BIM experience it kind of takes to access this within iSqFt, I think that could wrap up the next couple of questions we have left over.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have this set within both Assemble and iSqFt on a toggle. So you have to essentially subscribe to the integration to get it. So within Assemble, you probably, unless you subscribe, you don't see this share button. And then with iSqFt, you don't get these model view folders. And so if you're interested in engaging and getting access to that, please let us know. And then regarding getting set up and Assemble and what information is required to understand or to use model data, we do offer training up front, but I know from our typical training, most users get it in less time than the full course. So we, within a couple of hours, let's say 2 hours, you start navigating around in the model view and selecting things and understanding what properties are there, and understand how to then start using filters to change things or isolate them, or group information in a certain way within the model view. It is really straightforward to jump into and start understanding how to use model data.
I think it really lends more to familiarity with how things are named and the conventions, so that you can quickly understand what you're clicking on, what you're seeing. All the controls are very simple, very straightforward. It's really just kind of getting that familiarity with it, because obviously all architects are a little different in how they create their models, but once you understand kind of how you get in and navigate around things, it's really straightforward.
That's right. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, even just as Tom mentioned, how things are named by the designers or by an architect. You actually, once you start getting familiar with it, you have the ability to change things or to edit that information. So if you want to see it a certain way or rename it a certain way that's applicable to your estimating system or how you're bidding it out, you can definitely add that in. So as you guys saw, may have seen earlier, I can add in properties here, and so I have a bid package here, and I can select these walls, and it might be part of Division 9. So I can add in Division 9 here and even just say interior walls. And so now I can apply things to that. And so if I start applying things to this as a property, I can use that then as a filter. So I don't even need to know what all this information is down here. I can quickly, grab things and apply them to certain pieces. And then this is just an additional thing. I have a rule set here, and so I can say I just added something to a bid package. So I'm going to say show only bid package Division 9 interior walls. And so those couple of walls that are just applied to that are going to be the only thing that show up. And from that, you can get that summary quantity however you want. So I have square footage. If I need maybe length to get the base quantity here, I can get to that, or I can just add in whatever those properties are as columns here. So I have really good flexibility to get in and quickly use the model.
Great. It really is a great integration. Anything else you guys wanted to add?
I think we've run the gamut. There's a lot of things, obviously more detailed questions that you listeners may have. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll follow up. We'll follow up after the session with a. Are we sharing the recording, Amanda, or?
Yes, I was just about to say we will have the recording for you tomorrow. So we'll make sure that all of you receive a copy of that. And thank you so much, Tom and Tim, for showing this today. And thank you so much to all those that attended. Again, if you have any more questions, please give us a call or send us an email, and we will answer them for you.